welcome to Noni, Yanga's flagship talk show where we discuss all the hot topics. Today we take a look at the issue of bullying. As our children and siblings are settling back into school after the summer, we discuss the impact of bullying, its changes over the years, and what we can do to help victims. Joining me today are husband and wife Sam and Tola Onigbanjo, whom together have dedicated their time to help and mentor young people in the community. They're also the founders of non-profit organisation and young people's helpline, the Listeners 101. Hi, the first married couple here. Good. Hope you stay married after this chat. When we send our children to school as parents, we hope they're receiving a great education, making friends and creating memories. Our worst nightmare is to find out that our child is being bullied. Young people spend an average 11,000 hours of their lives in full-time education. And according to children's charity, the Diana Award, half of pupils worry about going to school over fear of bullying. And with the use of the internet, it's becoming almost impossible for a victim to escape. Are we doing enough to combat this ever-growing issue? Sam, let me come to you first. Are we doing enough?
Before a person becomes a bully, you have to remember that they are lacking something. And it's almost like a triangle. And in one point of that triangle, that kid is probably saying, I haven't got enough pocket money, I haven't got the latest trainers, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. And for that reason, he's taking out his frustration on someone else. So we have to be a bit more sensitive as parents to what children actually need. So our listening skills.
What, new trainers?
New trainers. Now, I mean, I'm not saying you have to give them the trainers, but if these children are not getting trainers and for that reason they're hating on another child that has trainers, that's where the problem's starting from. So it's not the fact that the other child is the victim, it's that this child needs to manage his emotions.
Yes.
And as a parent, you have to help them manage their emotions. It's okay not to have the latest trainers. It's okay not to have £20 to take to school every week. That's where we as parents in this triangle have to enter the conversation.
Yeah, we need to be having open discussion and dialogue, right, which we're going to get to more after the break. Tola, this might seem like a silly question, but, and Sam did touch on it, why are some children being bullied?
Well, I believe that, obviously bullies, they go through something themselves anyway. There's always an issue, an underlying issue as well. And a conversation that I had with one of my daughters, I said, what commonly happens in school and takes place? And she said, if you don't have the latest clothes, obviously the latest trainers, like Sam was saying, you get picked on.
Wigs now.
Yeah.
Wigs.
If you don't look a particular way, you get picked on. If you're not allowed to go out often, you get picked on. All of these things, and we're trying to obviously protect our children from some things, and then they go to school and they're thrown in it because somebody's picking on them, bullying them because they're not allowed to do certain things. And I think it has to do with the person being the bully, the person that's doing the bullying themselves as well. There's obviously an issue going on with them. Obviously maybe they've gone through bullying themselves, so they're now taking their frustrations out on somebody else. But there's always something. My daughter was being picked on in school by another girl that was turning everyone against her. But then when they all decided, no, we don't want to be with you, you're not that nice, we want to be, and they now turn to my daughter, that girl was sitting by herself all alone. And, there was a time she was looking up saying, and it was my daughter that now went to her and said, are you okay? Because there was obviously something going on with her, why she was behaving like that. And I've taught my daughter to try and recognize that.
There's always an underlining context. There's a really interesting statistic here. It says over a third, 39% of pupils says bullying affects their school grades and attendance. That's really serious. 40% of people. It's a dire consequence, isn't it, Sam?
It is. I mean, we all went to school and I can relate to that. When you're being bullied, it affects your emotions. So you won't focus. The key to educational success is concentration. Yeah. The moment your concentration is broken, you can't excel. So it is really important that people address bullying. And I think we need to speak more to parents. Simple things like tell your children not to bully people. You might think that your child's not the bully, it's someone else's child. But if parents send that message, do not bully anyone else in school, certainly it will sink in and we might get a decrease in this. So it's once again, it's about that listening thing. We have to listen and engage with these young people.
Of course, it's really interesting that you bring in the parents and just a simple thing as saying to your child, don't bully. Because of course, like my second child, I've got 3, she started reception. And of course, you want them to have a really nice jacket. You want to have the latest bag. But do you think sometimes wanting your child to have the latest thing kind of, sets a tone for people that don't have the latest thing? So even if they're not bullying, you're kind of trying to pit your child against other children. Can bullying come from that? Like parents innocently doing it?
Yes, definitely. I believe it can come from that. And also I think, you know, there's nothing wrong wanting your child to have a nice jacket or the latest bag. And if truth be told, even if they don't have it, they can still be bullied. If they have it, they can still be bullied. You know, even the nicest of people get bullied. Yeah. You know, sometimes pretty girls get bullied because of their looks, because the girls that feel they're not pretty start bullying and picking on something that the pretty girl has, and then makes everyone turn against them. And I think, like Sam said, as parents, sometimes we have a role to play. Like I always say to my daughter, you know, if you see someone being picked on or bullied, you know, try and stand up for them. You know, there's a statistics that says 85% of bullying takes place in front of bystanders. So a lot of people are watching.
But people are scared, Tola. Do you know what I mean? You know, you're so scared. You want to get involved, but you don't want to get stabbed.
Yes.
You know, you don't want to get your wig snatched. You know, people are scared to get involved. But then I suppose you have to. Sam, we haven't touched on it much, and I'm surprised, but the internet. The internet is another way people get bullied, right? It's not about not liking a pic. It's really derogatory statements that people are being leaving underneath pictures and comments on Facebook. How do parents safeguard against this? Because a lot of parents, especially in the African community, you know, they're not as cool as people like you. You know, they don't know how to monitor their child's internet activity, but they have to, don't they?
They have to. The truth is, the question you're posing, one of those ones that is really hard to answer, but some of the practical steps that parents can take is, once again, it reverts back to that triangle. You have to be involved in your child's life. Yeah. You have to take phone calls on your mobile phone in your child's bedroom. You have to open
What do you mean
laptop.
by that? Just elaborate before we go to the break.
So what I mean is, there's when my son's in his room and he's on the game, sometimes I take my phone or my laptop into his room and just sit on his bed.
Wow.
And I'm in my world, but my presence is there.
Wow.
So that presence makes sure that he is not allowed to bully anyone. I'm not saying he's a bully, but then at the same time, if something was going wrong, he would defer to me immediately and I would know. So your physical presence, how close you are to a child, really can change his life.
Even if you think you're busy, I think that's a really top tip, and I hope parents and siblings will listen to that. Still to come, we discuss the ways in which we can tackle the issue of bullying. Do we dedicate enough effort towards prevention as we do protection? And we find out how the Listeners 101 was started and what it aims to do to help the youth in the UK. See you after the break. Welcome back to Nonny. Now, the issue of bullying is often discussed from the perspective of the victim and very rarely from that of the bully. However, it's often been said that some bullies are or have been victims of bullying themselves. Are we simply writing them off as troublemakers and failing to support them as well? We touched on it, Tola, before the break, and we said, of course, bullying does come back to the bully and there's reasons behind it. But do you think they're too easily tarnished?
I think so, because like we said, there are issues going on even with the bully, and I think they need to be able to talk about whatever it is that they're going through, because obviously it's affecting them and that's what is making them now bully another person, you know. But I think they're probably going through something worse than even what they're inflicting on the victim themselves. And I think if something is put in place to obviously help them, then we'll probably see a lot less of it, because the focus even in school is, if you're being bullied, come and speak to us. If you're being bullied, and then they now deal with the bully. But how much time is being given to the person being the bully?
Yeah, and their mental state of mind, right?
What is going on with you?
Yeah, Sam, you mentioned it earlier, and I remember, God, I was in school about 10 years ago, maybe more. But yeah, it was a case. A lot of us African kids, you know, hand-me-downs, we didn't have enough money, you know, chicken and chips after school, 4 people were sharing the box, and we were kind of fine with that. Yeah, you kind of got bullied for not having much, but not everybody did. Nowadays, you know, with your children who are always dressed immaculately, my kids, I like to dress them well. Kids do have a lot of things. So really, it's not just kids who don't have that are bullying. Yeah. Kids who do have are bullying. So what is motivating them? You know, their parents go to church or the mosque, their parents are working, you know, they're getting good meals. They do have that £20 in a pocket, and not just a week, some of them in a day. What is motivating them when they are from good homes? Is it peer pressure? Is it trying to keep in?
You're asking deep questions.
This is Nonny Chat. Chat to us. Okay. You're the experts.
All right. Right, there's something called, there's a tool I created, it's called FATS. It stands for...
FATS?
FATS. It's fears, apprehensions, anxieties, terrors and self-doubts. The S there, the self-doubt. Children are in self-doubt. They're not sure. They're not sure if their hair is good enough. They're not sure if that flick on the wig is good enough. I'm not sure if my six-pack is better than his six-pack. I'm not sure if I'm the fastest runner. I'm not sure if, I'm tall enough. People are expressing their self-doubt. That's what's really going on. When you start to bully people, it's because you're not sure if you are accepted. And the number one person that can actually endorse and accept you, your parents, both father and mother. It has to be reinforced and reinforced and reinforced.
Does it come down to that? Is it as simple as that though, Tola? Because you're pivotal in the community. We'll talk about Listeners 101 shortly, but I'm sure you've spoken to parents that are giving the kids the love. They're given everything they can. You're doing stuff on the weekend. They're giving the presents, like you mentioned before the break. But the child is just still mean and nasty. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I think you can never give too much. We're always going to be giving and giving and giving, and we have to keep giving. And then we have to remember that this world we live in is also giving, and it's giving, and sometimes it's giving a lot of negativity, and we have to be continuously combating that. As Sam said, we have to continue to reinforce, to reinforce. I mean, you touched on the online bullying at one point, and it's not even just online. Our kids, they have phones, they create groups, WhatsApp groups and things like that. And I remember my daughter, she was being picked on, in the group. Someone would come in the group that knows her from nowhere and just start saying, oh, your forehead's big and things like that. And my daughter was, she kept complaining about it. Oh, they're teasing me. And I had to keep enforcing that. Look, you're beautiful. That's the way you made.
Did that hurt you, Tola?
For me,
as a mum,
not so much, because I went through it, and I know that there's obviously parts of us that we might not be happy with. But the thing is, with her, she didn't have a problem with it until they started to mention it, and I had to take her back to look. Before they
Tyra
started
Banks.
to say,
that forehead's worth millions, baby.
Yeah, and I'm saying, look, even if you look at Rihanna, her forehead's big, and I'm like, embrace it, love it. It's you.
And
it's
she
what
is
makes
beautiful.
you
She's
you.
a beautiful girl.
Yes. And, it took, obviously reinforcing that over and over and over again for her to accept herself.
Your foundation just has to be strong, isn't it?
It does.
And that does come from the parents. I want to touch a little bit on adult bullying as well, because do you think there can be a case where sometimes kids are getting it from their parents? They're watching TV, they're cussing people, look at this, look at that. They're coming back from church, always got something to say, because they say, you can only produce what you are. So some of these kids are copying what their parents are doing. We have to be very careful, don't we, about how we are around our children, Sam?
That's even deeper, because if the parents are...
We're getting deep.
Like, she's digging. You see, if parents are doing this, then there's trouble. Yeah. If the parent, because we're relying on parents to correct their children. And if the parents cannot correct their children, then the next layer out is the community. Yeah. So that means you're going to be taught by the police, the criminal justice system, by a bully that's bigger than you, by someone that has... Look, a group of boys were bullying my daughter at the bus stop for a few days. Unknown to them, we sent her brother to the bus stop one day. So when he caught them, the rest of the story we won't share. But you see, so those parents didn't teach their children not to pick on. Yeah. And for that reason, they got taught another way. Yeah. Someone's going to teach you. It's meant to be your parents. But if your parents are the ones that you're copying like this, then you're going to learn from... that's why we used to have the Boy Scouts.
The Girl Scouts.
Girl Scout guides. That was the purpose, to actually create another set of role models that would actually help you with your character formation, self-confidence.
We need more of this. I want to quickly come to you before we move on, Tola, very quickly. For, young kids, parents sending their kids to school, going to school, what kind of message of hope can you give them, just so that, if they are going through bullying, they're going to be all right,
I believe it's a case of speaking up as well. I mean, they have to obviously be strong in themselves and know that it's no fault of their own. If somebody's bullying you, picking on you, it's no fault of your own. I always tell my daughter, the issue is not with you. The issue is with the person bullying you. Yeah. They have a deeper issue than that which you're going through as the victim. So try and see it from their perspective. Yeah. Something obviously is hurting them, something is going on with them, and that person actually needs help.
Yeah, so it's always the bully, isn't it, who's the issue, not the person who is being bullied.
Yeah.
Now, with knife attacks, abuse, mental health issues and peer pressure affecting young people today, another beacon of hope has been launched in the heart of London. The Listeners 101 is a voluntary phone line service set up to actively listen without judgment to young people's concerns and fears. Now, Tola, when I got the email from you a couple of weeks ago saying you were launching this, I was like, I'm going to be there, it's going to be amazing, and it was. Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, young people, I always say to people that know me know that youth have always been my passion from day one. And young people, I mentor a lot of young people. I listen to a lot of young people. So when they're talking to me, I take out time to listen to whatever their issues are. And then I think to myself, what about all the people that don't have access to somebody to listen to them, that can't talk to their friends, can't talk to their family, relatives? What do they have? And so the concept of the helpline was so that they could just have somebody that would just listen to them. Some people, it's not that they want advice, they just want someone to listen, because there are a lot of young people going through so much and they don't talk about it because they don't want to look weak in front of their friends. They don't want to look like they're not coping. I mean, even with us as adults, we post what we want people to see. So we'll post the nice selfie, the nice picture and everything else, but we don't post our down days, our days of gloom and things like that. But everyone goes through it, and especially with young people, they need an outlet, and that's what the Listeners 101 is.
It's so timely, a fantastic initiative. Sam, describe, when you were kind of thinking about doing this, who was the caller you were expecting? Describe the kind of person or the kind of situation they would be in where they're like, I've got to call Listeners 101.
Well, two things. What flashed through my mind was the young boy that was probably somewhere between the age of 13 to 16 in school that was being bullied by another set of boys, and he couldn't go home to say because either he lived with his mum alone, or she was already too stressed and he didn't have an outlet. He didn't have an older brother, he didn't have an outlet, so he was just bottling it in. That's the boy we're looking for, that boy that seems to walk a lot, doesn't have enough money for his food. That boy needs to speak to someone. So in particular, I'm looking for young boys. Yeah. I really want young boys to talk because the truth is that virtually everything is transitional. These things won't last forever, but sometimes they need to know that they can actually speak to people.
There's somebody there
that has lived through all these things. We've grown up in the same city and we've passed through it and we've seen other people pass through. So they need to know that they can voice their opinions without being judged or without being afraid.
Do you know what also shouted at, going back to even the launch, I remember it was Abbas, a friend of the show, who spoke about himself, and he reminded me of my husband. Sorry, dear, but sometimes you've got these typical African men. The children just want to express themselves and talk, but they're just some Africans, and I don't want to come at my people, but they're just too strict. They love their parents, they do. I mean, their children, they do love them, and they want to give them their support. But when they want to tell them that something's happened at school, they have a fear in them that, God, if I say this, how's my parent going to react? And I think parents need education to say that, no, listen to your child, even if you don't like what they're going to say. Yes. They need the support, don't they? And they need to be counselled, Tola. It's serious.
They do. I think when a lot of especially Nigerian children say they can't talk to their parents because they don't understand. It's not so much that the parents don't understand, the parents don't want to listen. It's like, oh, okay, then and we can so easily dismiss it as parents and say, oh yeah, you're not the only one
going through that,
or yes, at the end of the day, or just forget about it. And that's why they say we don't understand, because we don't take out time to listen. And then when we listen, obviously we have to ask questions. We have to understand how they feel about what it is that they're talking to us about. Sam said it was about the young boy. It's about, it's even about the young boy, the young girl. I don't believe there will be 10 boys in a gang that will all go, 3 or 4 of them will stab another guy to death or fatally, and there's not 2 or 3 in that group that didn't even want to be part of it.
Even the one who stabbed probably didn't, but that's another conversation.
So
but
they want to talk about it, and I believe that there's going to come a time that even some of the boys in that group will want to even give information to the victim's family and say, no, it wasn't like that, or no, it's not how the news are portraying. He wasn't part of a gang. He wasn't, you know, we didn't even really know him. We just targeted him because he was in the wrong place at all. And just giving information to family. So that's what the line is for. They won't want to call the police and tell them that because they don't even want their identity known.
They don't feel like that's a safe space. You know, we're really running out of time, but I want to talk more about Listeners One-on-One. How can people get involved? Who's helped? I know there are so many people that spoke and talked about supporting you at the launch event you had.
Yes, the community have been really helpful. 805 restaurants have been always fantastic to us. MTK Foundation,
Global, yes.
Global have been fantastic. But for people out there, there's 3 ways you can get involved. 1, you can be a listener, come for our training. Would love to train you, especially you, training him. 2, we're looking for people that will come and support us financially. And when I say that, I mean they can help us pay for the lines or for the travel, marketing
and you can
material.
actually see that now. All the details are going to be on the screen, but please continue, Sam.
Yeah, and then 3, to pay to help towards the training manuals. These are the things, so you can get involved as a listener from your home. You don't have to come to us. You can listen from anywhere. And once you've gone through the training, you understand it. Look, we want a global network. So, but to start off, to cover the whole of the UK. So people visit our Instagram handle or email us at info@thelisteners.org, listeners101.org. And, you know, just reach out.
You've got to get involved. That's it from me, Juliana Oliyinka, and my fabulous guest, Sam Antola Onigbanjo. And don't forget, guys, Noni's now online. Wherever you are in the world, go to www.yangatv.com to check out every single episode. Join me next time for more Noni Chat. Goodbye.